Wednesdays are for people's elbows, super kicks, and springboard cutters. You know what that means. It's the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast hosted by Michael Davis on Boom Broadcasting, and it's time to pick up that mic. WrestleMania week is here, and Boom Broadcasting is giving you all the content you could ever imagine this week leading up to WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Yes, if you've been following Boom Broadcasting this week, you know that I dropped an episode earlier this week regarding what you should expect in the final week leading up to WrestleMania. Yesterday, I dropped a video describing why WrestleMania 21 and WrestleMania 31 all led to WrestleMania 41 and the product we know today, and that is long-term storytelling. But that's enough looking back at the past. We need to look at the future. We need to look ahead to this weekend. We got WrestleMania Saturday. We got WrestleMania Sunday. And so the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast is part of WrestleMania week on Boom Broadcasting is splitting up our prediction episodes. So you are getting this at the special start time, Wednesday at noon. 3 from Deep, the NBA podcast by Jason Colenso, will be dropping later this afternoon. And then tomorrow, we'll do another episode predicting Night 2. But guess what? For the first time this week, I'm not alone. And as a matter of fact, I want to welcome and introduce you guys to a new face that you have seen on Boom Broadcasting. This is a guy who is big on Twitch. If you are on the Twitch platform, you'll want to go see him. But let me introduce and let me acknowledge King Rome. Hey, Rome, how are you doing? And it's great to have you on the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast for the first time.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I love what you're building here. Sports, wrestling. These are the things that provide me happiness in life. They provide me escape from the real world. And I am just always so happy to meet others who are as passionate about it as I am. So I know you said you were going to come through and acknowledge me, but for you having me on your platform, I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to throw the ones up for you.
We throw the ones up, and we're going to throw the ones up for Roman, because that is the main event for WrestleMania 41 Night 1, and that's what we're covering on today's episode. And so we know the main event, but Rome, I got to ask you, who is opening WrestleMania weekend? Because, I mean, this is such an important spot on the card. If you aren't last, you want to be first, and WrestleMania Night 1 is stacked as it is. What do you expect to open Night 1?
Well, like you said, that is a very important position. Like, you're setting the whole weekend off. Like, yes, we have SmackDown leading up to it, but this is the show of shows, and everybody's going to follow that. You get to be the one to walk through that curtain, walk through Gorilla and say, follow that. So we have some heavy-duty matches on this card. When you go through and you look at it, we got Gunther and Jey Uso, LA Knight, Jacob Fatu, Jade Cargill, Naomi, Tiffany and Charlotte. We will get there. El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio. I mean, how many times do you get to have your debut match in a company on their biggest show? And then the War Raiders and New Day. I mean, there's a lot of great choices there. But for me, there's one answer and one answer alone. And I'm going to base my answer on last year. You might have to fact check me on this, but did not we have a brother versus brother to open the show last year?
Are you saying that you have Jey Uso main eventing, or Jey Uso opening up Night 1? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, because he's gone on the record, so I'm not saying anything that hasn't been stated in public by the man himself. He did not feel like he did what he needed to do last year, and he was disappointed in the presentation that he put forth. So with him elevating himself to the level he is over the past 365 plus days, I mean, main event Jey Uso ain't a nickname anymore. And, you know, he's not in the closing slot. But like you said, this is, if you're not closing, opening is the most important match. He's gonna set the tempo. We're gonna open with a bloodline. We're gonna close with a bloodline, and I think we're gonna have that stadium yeeting.
Yeeting? You
Yeeting.
think we're yeeting?
They're yeeting all through Vegas.
Oh man, and that would be such a sight to see. Jay and Jimmy were actually in the middle of the card night one last year. Rhea Ripley, Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch opened up that night one, and then of course night two opened up with Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight title.
So what I got mixed up was the heavyweight title open last year, and I think they're going to run that back this year, and it's going to give that title a spotlight because we've got the other world title headlining night two, which is the main event of main events, and we've got the big dog, the tribal chief, closing night one. But we have to make sure we're spotlighting the World Heavyweight Championship, which is as much a world championship as the other, or that's what they would want you to believe, because that's how a world championship should be revered. So on that note, it should be given a very prominent spot on the card, and opening is an honor. So that's why I've got that going first.
And especially with Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, he chooses the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther. And what's interesting about this, Rome, is Jey Uso has had his chance at the World Heavyweight title, and he's had this chance at the World Heavyweight title, and he's had his chance at the World Heavyweight title. He is 0-3 against Gunther as of right now, and I cannot imagine Jey Uso losing for a fourth straight time. Honestly, I'd be a little disappointed because, I mean, if you aren't going to tell the story of him ultimately overcoming Gunther, then why put him in this moment at WrestleMania? And especially if we start the show with it, why would you have the crowd yeeting and yeeting and yeeting just for them to die off because Gunther retains? It wouldn't make sense to me.
You make a very solid point, and that's why I feel like the momentum is carrying him to this moment, this monumental moment, a la WrestleMania 20, when the underdog comes out the champion. You know what I mean? So everything you said tracks, but you know, every once in a while I get a little devil on my shoulder that wants to speak through my ear, so then I have to in tune speak for him and be that devil's advocate and say that, but what if? But what if? You know, there's a chink in Gunther's armor since that loss to Cody Rhodes it was in Saudi Arabia. I can't remember which show it was specifically, but
Crown Jewel, I believe.
Was it Crown Jewel? It's hard to tell them apart. There's so many over there now.
And they brand them the exact same. They don't do us any favors with that.
Yes. So since then, like he went on that kind of not downward trajectory, because obviously he's still the champion, but he wasn't as undefeatable. You know, he didn't have that same aura about him that he carried prior to that match with Cody. What if this is him getting that back? Because Jey Uso's got the crowd behind him. He's got that aura with him. He's got that momentum behind him. Well, how do you get yours back? You stomp that out. You stomp that flame out, and you let people know, oh, you thought that? You thought that was the next big thing? Sorry to disappoint you, but I've been a champion for 80% of my time here on this roster, as he stated himself on Monday. What makes you think he's the 20%? What makes you think Jey Uso's the 20%? This could be Gunther's chance to solidify his reign and keep that momentum going. And then now you're looking at him at the same level as perhaps a Cody Rhodes again. And so now you've got some heavy hitters on your roster like CM Punk, Roman Reigns. And not to say Jey Uso's not at that level, because I love me some Jey Uso. But it's the man that holds the title that really has to have that persona about him to raise it to that level where you can have a CM Punk match and it makes sense, a Roman Reigns match and it makes sense, a Seth Rollins match and it makes sense, and you're headlining every show and you're not allowing a triple threat like CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins to headline the show because I've got an aura above what they hold because I'm the champion. Maybe he starts working his way towards getting that back.
And he did have that aura a couple years ago. He wrestled Sheamus and Drew McIntyre in Match of the Weekend, WrestleMania 39, and the Intercontinental title. Banger and banger and banger. But last year, the chink in his armor came from Sami Zayn losing his Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. And now it's like you either have Jey Uso lose 4 straight to Gunther and all this hype and win the Royal Rumble for nothing, or you have Gunther lose a prominent championship in back-to-back WrestleManias. I mean, it's a tough position WWE's put themselves in.
Or let's look at it another way. I like everything you just said. Do they have the framework of an all-time rivalry here? Could Gunther, Jey Uso, not today, but let's say they run this back, could we have the Bret and Shawn of the 2020s?
Dude, I feel like you could say that about any opponent Gunther's had. I mean, we were saying that about Sheamus a couple years ago. We were saying that about Sami Zayn last year. We were saying that about Ilya Dragunov during their NXT UK days. I mean, Gunther, I feel like he could have anybody he wants. But it would be very interesting to see this feud continue, especially if they both stay on the same brand after WrestleMania. But at the end of the day, if we're seeing, I believe this opens WrestleMania Night 1 as well. How do you see it going? Are the fans yeeting on Night 1, or are they disappointed as Gunther proves he is the ring?
Well, you know, I think we've laid out compelling cases for each side of the match, each result that could play itself out, and I think, you know, it's all about how you frame it and how they deliver in the ring. But at the end of the night, when that bell rings 3 times and we hear the announcer get on the mic, we're going to be hearing, and new World Heavyweight Champion, main event, Jey Uso. Yeet.
I do see that. I do see that. Rome is like Jey Uso opening up the show, yeeting everywhere, and then wins the World Heavyweight title in a huge upset. Just sets the tone for the rest of the night. And Jey Uso isn't the only member of the bloodline competing to win a championship at WrestleMania. We got the debut of WrestleMania 4, Jacob Fatu, the Samoan Werewolf, against L.A. Knight. Yeah. So we go from yeeting to yan, and Jacob Fatu is hoping to play spoiler. Dude, this is pretty crazy that Jacob Fatu has moved up to this moment so quickly. And after last year's WrestleMania, it looked like Roman Reigns lost his title to Cody Rhodes. He took some time off. Solo Sikoa was putting himself in as the tribal chief, and he brought in Tama Tonga. He brought in Tonga Loa. He would bring in Jacob Fatu. So it looked like Solo Sikoa was going to be that guy, but a year later, Jacob Fatu has superseded Solo Sikoa. Jacob Fatu has a one-on-one match at WrestleMania, something that Solo Sikoa has yet to have. And it begs the question, is this too soon for Jacob Fatu? Would you have rather Solo Sikoa be in this spot? How is WWE handling Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa right now?
I would say, you asked, is it too soon? I say it's not soon enough That man just has something about him. I had heard his name before. I don't watch all of the awesome independent programs that are out there, but I'd heard his name. Somehow his name still got through all of that and filtered its way up to my level of conscience, which is like borderline casual. Like I'm a step above casual. You know, I'm in the space where I'm consuming podcast content. I'm on social media. I'm in it, but I'm like just a step removed from casual. So I'm not really out there looking for, you know, who's next. But sometimes there is just talent and aura that permeates even the casual conscious. And Jacob Fatu is one of them. So I've been hearing that name for years. And when he showed up, what's funny is you didn't even have to tell me it was him. I just knew from the impact of his debut. I said, that's got to be Jacob. Sure enough. Sure enough. And fast forward to today, he's got the rocket strapped to him, as they say. And so is it too soon? I say not soon enough. I wish WrestleMania was the night after he debuted because he has that about him. How are they handling the Solo scenario? You know, I want to like Solo. I think he's a good kid, and I say kid like we're not the same age. but that's how they present him. That's how they present him as, you know, the kid that was just a little too big for his britches, reached a little too high for a branch he couldn't reach on the tree, and not to say he could never reach it, but I think he was ill fit for the role that he was playing, and perhaps that was part of the story. I'm of the mindset of let it play out. Let's see where they go with it. I think the whole point of him not actually being the tribal chief was the entire point of the story, and that everybody around him, either he's not at their level or he's keeping them down, but they're going to eventually supersede him anyway, which is what I think we're seeing here with the Jacob situation. And what's crazy here is we've been talking on this topic for 5-6 minutes now. We haven't even mentioned Jacob Fatu's opponent. Jacob Fatu's not even the champion in this match. How about that? How about that?
Hey, that makes a really good point because I mean, LA Knight 2 years ago was left off WrestleMania in Hollywood, in LA itself.
In LA.
And a lot of people were like, hey, like, where's LA Knight? Why is he not getting the love? And I mean, you're right. It just feels like LA Knight is just there. He's United States champion. Thankfully, it's not Logan Paul anymore. And he's just the guy who's going to be known in trivia books as the man who lost the title to Jacob Fatu. I mean, I feel like that's where we're headed.
That's certainly how it feels. And one thing about the way that I stories have been told in this new era that we're in, they're logical storylines. And a lot of times people will say, well, it's predictable. Well, predictable is not always a bad thing. Sometimes, you know, you feel the momentum coming, and it doesn't, just because you know it's coming doesn't mean you don't want to see it happen. You still got to watch it play out in the ring, and it can still be a compelling story. But this one does somewhat feel like the writing's on the wall with it. And the only way I see Jacob not having his arm raised at the end of the match is, yes, that one name that we kept bringing up, that blonde streak Samoan named Solo Sikoa. If he finds his way factoring into that match, that is the only way I see Jacob not having his hand raised when that bell rings. And that's because at this point on the trajectory that Jacob Fatu is on, I think the only person I see stopping Jacob Fatu is Jacob Fatu. And until I see otherwise, that's how I'm operating.
So we're both under the impression Jacob Fatu walks out as United States champion.
I think the question is, what's the over/under on how long the match is going to be?
Dude, I'm hoping for a good match, but yeah, Jacob Fatu could easily just run through LA Knight. As much as I love LA Knight, I almost wore an LA Knight shirt for the podcast today, but I gotta represent the bloodline.
Oh,
and
you
part of
already
the
know.
bloodline is Jacob Fatu. So I say he's winning. And somebody who's like kind of considered as part of the bloodline, she hasn't been a part of the actual faction, but she's kind of married in to the
Okay.
family,
I think
is
I know where you're going with
Naomi.
this.
And Naomi and Jade Cargill are making history, by the way. This is a non-title women's match at WrestleMania, which hasn't happened in 20 years. This is also the first time ever that two black women have wrestled one-on-one at WrestleMania. And so, by the way, I said this yesterday on the video that dropped on Boom Broadcasting covering WrestleMania 21, WrestleMania 31, and how it leads in WrestleMania 41. This is why I'm not upset at Triple H for the women. People are like, oh, the women should be showcased more. They have 4 matches this weekend, and this is history right here. Something we would have never gotten 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There is progress happening right now. And the only question I have, Rome, is did they get the actual match wrong? And should they have had Bianca Belair wrestle Jade Cargill in this match?
That's coming. And I think when the turn initially happened, when we were trying to figure out what's going on, who done it, that I believe on paper is the match everybody wanted to see. But that's where I have to give credit where it's due. Naomi, in a very short amount of time, has gone from, oh, Naomi, to I got to see this. And I feel uniquely qualified to speak on this as a brother here. I try to root for all the chocolate folk when I can, just for the representation. It's important. I know people, have varying ideologies when it comes to that, but it matters. We couldn't have the WWE we have today, where you've got Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks headlining, or Jade and Naomi facing each other. We got Stand and Deliver. You've got a triple threat of Obafemi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans. If we didn't have the Booker T's of the past carrying that torch, the Tony Atlases, the list goes on and on. Ron Simmons, Bearcat, you know what I'm saying? Like, so having that, it's important and it matters, and it truly is groundbreaking. And I'm so happy to see them. And to loop it back to where I was going with that, Naomi in a very short amount of time has gone from, I guess I care about you just because you look like me. But now I can drop all the qualifiers and just say, I'm interested in this match because it's a great story. And she's compelling. And that's where true victory is. Not just throwing them on there because, they're black. We can throw them on there and it'll keep that community quiet for a little while. Nah, they earned that, and they're on there because they belong. And it's one of the matches I'm looking forward to most. It's not a match when Jade Cargill came over from AEW that I thought I wanted to see. And initially when the three of them tagged together, I was just like, I guess this is cool. But now it's like, I have to see this. I can't miss it. I will be in my seat when that match drops, and I will be watching with full undivided attention.
And from a perspective of, am I interested in Naomi? Am I interested in Jade Cargill? One of those questions have been answered, and you touched on it. Naomi's new character. I mean, she had gotten stale when she had originally left WWE, and she went to TNA as Trinity, and she excelled. And then she came back to WWE, and it was, oh, this is the same glow. This is the same Naomi. And then all of a sudden, we have an edge. And we have actual layers to her character that is showing up and showing out every time she's built up to this match. So, like, the build up to this match has probably been better than one we'll touch on here in a second.
I have things to say.
I do too. The question about Jade Cargill that I have that hasn't been answered yet, because we haven't got to Saturday yet, is, how is Jade Cargill in the ring? Every time I have watched her in AEW, it was like they were hiding the fact that she wasn't as polished in ring as having her be the female version of Goldberg in this century. And ever since we've seen her wrestle with WWE, she's been a tag team with Bianca Belair. And I'm going to be completely honest, Rome. Every time I've watched Jade Cargill in the ring, I'm like, man, she could have really used NXT to get polished up and work with Shawn Michaels and work with the train staff there. But now she's got the spotlight on her, and she's not in a tag team anymore. She's in a singles match. We know Naomi can go in the ring. Can Jade Cargill hold up in the match, even though the buildup has been above and beyond what I'm sure any of us thought?
Yes, and I'm going to answer that because I have the same question. I believe we all do. I wanted to touch on one last thing with Naomi before we got there, and then because I wanted to circle back on something you were saying, like her character has layers, and I think one of the deepest things that's added to the compelling nature to what she's presenting now is that when she speaks, I feel like she believes it, and that is such an important part of presentation on WWE television, but just in a wrestling character in general. And that point right there, we will circle back to eventually. And I think you know where I'm going with that. But back to your question on Jade, I think less is more when it comes to her, and it's going to be really interesting because when you look at the two of them side by side on paper in the ring, standing next to each other, I mean, there is nothing when you look at them that says Naomi should win. Like Jade looks the part, and I've seen her in person. We were on the same flight once. She looks every bit of the stature you see on television. She's every bit of it. So I think with her, and it's going to be very interesting with her playing the face role in this, because normally you would think of those roles being reversed, being her being the larger, more dominant wrestler in the match. So the things I'm going to be looking for are, will she be able to express, fatigue, anguish, things that are going to resonate with the crowd that's going to get them on her side? Because like I said, I mean, we saw in the 2 beatdowns, I mean, she dog walked Naomi. I'm actually surprised the feud continued. I was like, she got her lick back and then some.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Jade Cargill was taken out on a car windshield. So yes, there was a lot of bit up frustration there.
So can she present herself as a compelling face character, which is typically the character that has to engender sympathy from the crowd and get us to rile them up, and almost like I compare it to Goku with the spirit bomb. Send me your energy. Send me your energy, and with your spirit, I will release this. That's kind of the role the face plays in wrestling. We want to feel like we're right there in the ring with you, picking you up, overcoming the adversity that the heel has presented. So I am as intrigued as you are to see what she will do, because this is not a role that she has been accustomed to playing. And yes, they were faces as a tag team, but it was come in, get your stuff in, get out, and that's cool. And I believe she'll be able to get away with that, being that she is the larger, more dominant character. But those attributes will only resonate for so long. So we're gonna need to see some stuff. But I trust in the WWE system. Are they flawless? Are they perfect? No, but there is enough of a track record with the brilliant minds. Not just, we credit Triple H for the booking, but all the agents backstage who are credited with, really training and getting these professionals locked in on what they have to do. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and let them fail before we cast judgment.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of where I am with it.
Yeah. And everybody on the internet is so quick to be negative and hurl insults and like, okay, I want you to go see if you can do better, because y'all aren't even running independent promotions, let alone a promotion, a multi-billion-dollar company at this level, and
global reach.
It's global, and they're really going hard on the global. So Jade Cargill, Naomi, where are you leaning with this one? Who walks out the winner?
Oh, Jade.
Okay,
for sure.
Okay,
For sure.
He's got Jade Cargill. I'm leaning towards Jade. I'm gonna go Naomi. Especially with this new heel attitude. I feel like, especially since Jade's getting more of the upper hand with some of these attacks, I think Naomi evens it out at WrestleMania, but we are far from this match and this feud being over. I want to say the opposite about this other match, because I told you there's 4 women's matches. There's 2 on Saturday, there's 2 on Sunday, and we have, I don't mean to be this way, but we have the exact opposite when it comes to Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. I'm gonna be honest, Rome, and I don't want to be mean, but this feels forced. I mean, this feels about as forced as the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania 31 I talked about yesterday here on the channel. You guys can go watch that on demand on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. It feels forced because you have the bigger name, Charlotte Flair, who pushes herself into the Royal Rumble, pushes herself into a title match at WrestleMania just because she's a Flair, just because she's been around long enough. And then you have Tiffany Stratton, who everybody likes the potential of, but it feels like a little too soon for her. And so now you get to WrestleMania where now a lot of fans are just disengaging this. And the time where this match felt the most intriguing was when a promo went off script a couple weeks ago. And now WWE's kind of erased that from wherever you could watch. Rome, this has been just underwhelming for me. I don't know if you feel the same way. If you don't, that's totally okay. But that's just the sense I have with Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair.
I have nothing nice to say about this. So I'm going to go ahead and get my qualifiers out of the way. I have respect for everybody that's in this business. I do not pretend like I know any more about this than y'all do. Y'all are out there. We're paying money to watch you perform, not the other way around. So that's my qualifier. I'm going to put that out there. I have respect for everybody that puts in their hard work, but I have not a single positive word to say about any of this. And this goes all the way back to the Let's take it back to the Royal Rumble real quick. I'm gonna try not to ramble too long. I feel like I'm in the minority here. I'm actually a Charlotte fan.
Oh wow!
I'm actually a Charlotte fan. I think that the role that she plays is an important one. Now that being said, she is not without flaw in this. She has certainly as much, if not most, of the blame in how this is played out. But I see a lot of the people that I see are throwing shade at Charlotte, throwing shade at how she has behaved in all of this. And, you know, for the most part, you're not wrong. But I want to take it a step above, a step further. This match should have never happened in the first place. I am going to throw a hot take out there. We should be looking at Charlotte versus Rhea Part 3. That it wrote itself. It wrote itself. I that's the match I wanted when I saw that she won. I know people weren't happy with her winning the Royal Rumble, but I was like, but who's better than her? She's the top of the top for a reason. But use that. And I understand that Charlotte's role now, where she is like not even a gatekeeper. It's like, wow, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, she is a torchbearer. She is that level that you are trying to reach if you're on the come up. And I feel like Rhea is right there. She's not quite there, but she's as close as you're going to get. So I was thinking that Charlotte versus Rhea Part 3 was the perfect, it already had story built in. And enough on that. That's not the match. There's no point in harping on that. Then we're going to get to Tiffany as the champion. I have not felt anything compelling about her. I see the potential. And I'm not going to sit here and say she's not good. That's not true. But I don't see her as a believable champion. I haven't since she won the belt. And every time I see her, I'm just like, I don't even think she knows who she's supposed to be. That's how it comes across on television. I'm like, there's nothing likable about you, but yet we're supposed to cheer you. You've got really annoying music. You're annoying when you talk. You talk at me like I'm a heel. What even is Tiffy time? And I'm not saying the character's not there. I mean, she had an incredible character on her run through NXT. And I think one of the issues with the new regime is that they're copying and pasting and dropping them on the roster as if we all supposed to know who they are and what they're supposed to be right then and there. No, it's still a reset. Like, it's not as much of a reset from Black and Gold when it was like an entirely different universe. And then they came to the main roster. It's like, okay, well, what is this? Like, the new NXT is more of a seamless transition, but you still have to get us up to speed with who this character is supposed to be. To me, she's still a heel. The only reason she's even being cheered is because she cashed in on Nia Jax. And her not being on the card is criminal after the year she had, but that's not the discussion we're having. I feel like it's an ill fit to begin with. And then the whole, you're Charlotte 2.0, in what way? Because you do a backflip? They're not even close to comparable. Charlotte is up here, and Tiffany is like, you just knocking on the door, shorty. And I'm not saying you can't ever get there. I see the potential. I want to like her, but you have to give me something to like. So neither one of them has, and the mess that Charlotte started it with the backstage interview, that was ugly, and she should have been reprimanded for that because that was unprofessional, especially for that of a veteran. But I can feel her frustration in that I think that came from her seeing like, this chick ain't on my level. It's almost like the John Cena Roman Reigns promo from back in the day. It's a promo, son. You're gonna have to learn to cut one.
Oh, for real. And that's the vibe, especially that in-ring promo that went haywire. I'm just trying to listen, and there's some wrestlers who have great chemistry in the ring, but also on the mic. I mean, they can go back and forth all day. There's ones who, no matter who you put across the ring from them, they can cut a promo. CM Punk, John Cena, MJF. I mean, just to name a few. And when I was watching that promo, until the 0-3 record, until the Ludwig Kaiser in the DMs.
Like, what is this?
I mean, it was just like, it felt green. Like, it felt like I wanted to stand in front of my mirror and cut a promo without going through any promo classes, without going through any training. That's what it felt like. And Charlotte felt rattled by the fans. Tiffany felt rattled by the spotlight. And they're going to have to get over that because WrestleMania, all the eyes are going to be on you. The fans may not respond well to you, and I'm worried how this match will go in the ring.
It's making me nervous. And,
it is.
And you know why you feel that way?
Why?
Because that's power.
I can't hear you. It's too loud.
It's like, and I've heard like varying responses to it. Some people feel like this hot mess is making it more watchable. I've already committed this is going to be my bathroom match.
And what's sad, this will probably get 10 more minutes than Cargill Naomi. This will probably get 10 more minutes than Jacob Fatu and LA. Like, this will probably get upwards to like 21 minutes.
You know, what they have going for them. You know what they have going for them. They've set the expectations so low that they have no choice but to over deliver. So perhaps I might hit you up on Sunday morning and be like, I was wrong. I was wrong. This was a masterpiece. But my hopes aren't that high. My hopes are not that high. I haven't liked any of it. And we never really, to be honest with you, we never really got a real story here. What is the story? you're the 2.0 of me. I mean, but is she? I never saw that. I thought, like you said, the word that you used perfectly was forced, and that's how it feels.
It feels forced. And at the end of the day, one person has to walk away champion. Who do you got?
I shouldn't answer that honestly because your viewers are going to cut the video off.
Are you going Charlotte? Are you going Charlotte?
Charlotte is the only answer.
Dude, I swear, if we get another Royal Rumble and another WrestleMania of Charlotte just walking in after not doing a year of work and getting the title, I'll be like, wow. So you're building this girl up, and then you just like, oh, let's take the title off of her.
You said without doing a year of work. What was the year that she spent rehabbing? Is that not work?
Well, I mean, like on screen. I get it. Like rehab is tough. Like
the first mistake was how they brought her back. The first mistake was how they brought her back. That could have been a story that the fans could have gotten behind. But instead, and these are not unique thoughts to me. Like I listen to a lot of great minds. And so this is not an original thought that I'm sharing. But, build her up. Almost like Cody did. Cody came back after, how much time did he miss with the torn pec? I mean, he was gone for forever, but he was received with resounding support because A, we knew he was coming back. B, he showed us some of the work in getting back up to speed. We can relate with that. We saw how badly he was hurt. So we knew what not through our own experiences, but we saw with our own eyes, like what he was going through. If Charlotte had just shown us some of that, if they had positioned her more vulnerably, perhaps the Rumble would have ended with more support for her. And then she tried to come out the next night as a face. Charlotte, you're not a face. You're the biggest heel in women's history.
Right. And it just doesn't relate. It doesn't. And
because of that, like, I think I can't confirm this with any validity, but I think that they thought Charlotte was going to be the face and Tiffany was going to be the heel, because at no point through any of this build has Tiffany really changed her character at all. Remember how she won the title in the first place? She manipulated Naomi, or was it Naomi or Bianca? It was one of the two of them. Attacked them, it rendered them incapable of defending themselves, and then cashed in on Nia Jax. That wasn't exactly a face thing to do. She never really got the redemption arc. We're just supposed to cheer her because she does a backflip and has a pretty smile. I'm not trying to belittle her hard work. I think she's an excellent worker and has the potential to grow, but the character ain't there, and that's what we connect with, and that's why I feel a disconnect. And so neither one of them is. It is kind of a lose-lose situation because Charlotte comes out of it the winner, and it's like, LOL, Charlotte wins. But if Tiffany wins, I mean, does anybody actually believe that? I don't. Yeah. Maybe I'm the outlier here.
And it feels like you got to do something with the SmackDown women's picture after this match, no matter what. And I don't think Jade Cargill and Naomi is going to end anytime soon. So maybe Bianca, who knows what will happen there. But what I want to know about WrestleMania weekend is El Grande Americano having his WrestleMania debut.
Oh, my goodness.
Rey Mysterio almost ripped the mask off Monday on Raw. And now I'm worried that he'll try to do another heel tactic move and try to rip off the mask, even though Rey Mysterio fully understands what a mask symbolizes and represents at Lucha Libre, at wearing a mask. And for him to do that at WrestleMania with all the eyes on him would be very disrespectful. So, Rey, that's just my advice. You're already a deadbeat dad, so don't be a disrespectful disgrace of a human being. So, with that said, Rey Mysterio, El Grande Americano. Eddie Guerrero had his last match against Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. El Grande Americano is having his first match at WrestleMania against Rey Mysterio. Who you got in this one?
And first and foremost, thank you for saying the things that everybody won't say. Thank you for saying the quiet part out loud. Rey's supposed to be the good guy here? I'm like, yo, you're disgracing his whole approach to Adam Pearce to even set this match up was his uh, disapproval of how Grande Americano was representing the lucha libre culture. Well, Ray, you're not the shining example here if you're doing the exact same thing. And so it's too bad he's on night 2, because I want to say Dom was right. Apparently, Dom was right.
We should listen to Dom.
Maybe I should have come around. Like we weren't in the household when he was growing up. We didn't see anything. Maybe we were wrong about Dom. But El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio, man, how cool is it that we get to witness a WrestleMania debut? How many people? Like we gotta do some we gotta do some quick research here. Like how many people had their debut match at WrestleMania? I think I was at one of the last WrestleManias where somebody made their debut. Fandango. Yeah, I was there for that. Has there been a WrestleMania debut since then?
I mean, if you count Cody Rhodes coming back.
That's a return.
That's Nicholas.
Oh, the tag team.
Nicholas being Braun Strowman's tag team partner.
Sorry, Nicholas. We got to put some respect on one of the greatest of all time's name. Sorry, Nicholas. I how could I forget? That was one of the most glorious debuts in pro wrestling history.
Well, that begs the question: does Ray get the mask off of the Great American this Saturday?
No. Ray's doing. Ray's gonna be looking up at the lights.
Think El Grande Americano wins?
I think so. I just wish like we have another WrestleMania where Chad Gable's getting screwed out of a match. That's the only complaint I have. Like as much as it's like such an honor that I get to witness a WrestleMania debut, I can't go without thinking that spot could have been Chad Gable's.
Yeah, and I could agree. Like, I mean, why does Rey Mysterio need another WrestleMania? I mean, he was wrestling 20 years ago at WrestleMania 21.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Just have Chad Gable wrestle El Grande Americano. Like,
I like the way you think.
Give him that opportunity. But you expect El Grande Americano to beat Ray. I gotta go the opposite. Go the opposite.
You think so?
I think so. I think there's going to be underhanded tactics. Maybe Ray puts that piece of metal in his mask and uses it, or puts him at its shin and hits the 619. But I see Rey Mysterio using some heel tactics and somehow getting cheered. And that makes me remember there's another good tag team that keeps getting booed for no reason. It's the New Day. Okay. And they're just getting booed, and they're the good guys here, like Big E left them. Big E had to injure his neck and then, leave wrestling. And now the New Day have the opportunity to win the World Tag Team titles against the War Raiders. And Rome, I'll say this, man. I love this version of the New Day, and it would be so sweet to see them raising the World Tag Team titles after Saturday.
I don't have too much to say about this one because I feel like a lot of the initial momentum that they were riding when they shed the dead weight that was Big E, it seems like that's cooled down a bit, and maybe that's just that deadbeat Rey Mysterio stealing from their aura. He used their aura to get himself on the WrestleMania card, but they're still a New Day. You can only steal so much aura, and when that bell rings after the 1, 2, 3, it's a New Day. Yes, it is.
Yep. Well, we both see the New Day win. I don't love the War Raiders just in general. Even this like newer, like let's shed the Viking part of our gimmick doesn't fit for me. But the New Day being heels, I don't know. I think my bold prediction is we actually do see Big E show up, and maybe he maybe he tries costing the New Day, but he doesn't succeed.
Okay. That is bold. That's very bold. I think this one is. I think this one's probably going to be the cleanest match on the card, and I have a bad feeling it's going to be the shortest match on the card. It's just that's the prominent, like, it's so funny because to break the fourth wall here a little bit, we were talking about this one a little earlier, and I was like, oh wait, that's on the card.
I mean, yeah, it was like a very subtle, like, let's add this, but hey, let's keep the Street Profits and Mercy Machine Guns off, WrestleMania Sunday. But I mean, I digress.
Yes, that's a night 2 discussion.
That's a night 2 discussion. And I will have a guest on Drop the Mic tomorrow for a special episode, and we'll cover night 2. So don't worry, we'll cover everything night 2. We're covering everything night 1 right now. And then this weekend, we're going to be doing a live stream kickoff pre-show for both WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania Night 2. Our usual host of the Nightcap will be in Vegas for WrestleMania, so he will probably not be doing a Nightcap after WrestleMania. So what we're going to do is we're going to preview Night 1 on Saturday, and then Night 2 before WrestleMania Sunday, we're going to kind of be recapping what happened on Saturday and then preluding what happens on Night 2. But Rome, we have one more match, and it's a big one. It is main event in Night 1. It is Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. Now, I did drop a video on Boom Broadcasting last week about who Paul Heyman should choose, because he's got a. I appreciate that. Because he did have this favor for CM Punk, but he is the wise man for Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins is insisting that he has a favor now. And so this is main eventing, and I'm not sure why. Is there a swerve coming? Is there just the reason that these are the 3 biggest names drawn? Is it because this feud and this match is 10 years in the making, dating all the way back to WrestleMania 31, even before when the Shield debuted to be CM Punk's bodyguards? Rome, why do you think they chose this to be the main event?
2 words: Roman Reigns. It's as simple as that. It really is. So that's why when Roman Reigns sits at the head of the table and proclaims, "You should be thanking me. You're in the main event because of me." Well, is that the character saying that, or is that statistical fact saying that? Because he's been in. Stop me when we get there.
He's counting. He's counting on his hands, guys. I think we're at 9.
I'm almost running out of fingers here.
I think we're at 9
main events. How many main events this man has had? I mean, he is the main event, and that's why. But ultimately, initially when I saw the crumbs, so to speak, of this cookie forming, initially I was like, I don't know, man. This just don't feel big enough. But I should have listened to my own mantra, honored my own advice, and said, let it play out. Because here we are, just a few mere days before WrestleMania, and this is the biggest match. And that's because of everybody involved, not just the man carrying the mantle. The tribal chief is the main event, no matter where he goes. But that said, CM Punk he's him. He's sorry, Mello. CM Punk is him. You know, in the ring, on the mic, being able. I mean, this dude got a bracelet over. Come on now.
Fair.
Come on now. Let's talk about it. And throughout the course of the feud, I just felt like one of these was not like the others. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Oh, but
really, you throwing shade at Seth?
See, your viewers wouldn't know this because I'm a new voice here, but I've been openly critical for a while now of Seth, and because I just never felt it's almost like the Tiffy thing, but like at a much higher, more main event degree. I never felt the change or growth in his character from when he transitioned from the guy that was feuding with Cody, jabbing a kendo stick into a bruise or a torn peg. That guy is the same guy today, and I never felt like he was somebody that I'm supposed to be cheering. You come out, you give yourself these titles, the visionary, the revolutionary, of what exactly? But I just never felt like, oh, this is a guy that I should be rooting for. Like I don't feel you on my side. And a lot of times I felt like there was no character there. It was just a guy that comes out in wacky clothes, dances a little bit, and then has banger matches. But I'm like, that's not enough for me. I need more. And I always felt like the outlier, the one, I was like, am I the only one seeing this? And that's not coming from a place of Seth Rollins hate. When the Shield broke up and he was the guy that they went with, I was all behind it. I was like, this dude is awesome, the architect, the Messiah. But there's just something about, I think at the end of the day, the dude's just a heel because that's when I liked him the most. In the Shield, as the architect, as the Messiah, his face runs just didn't do it for me because it's just like, I'm a guy who wrestles, and to me that's not a character. But when for the last like 3 weeks, his contributions to this feud specifically, because I felt like he was the oddball out. Like while the main event players are playing, he's just kind of out, at the table. Can I have some more, sir? And but I had to shut my own mouth and eat a lot of crow because of the last 3-4 weeks. The Seth that I always knew was in there came out because the case he presented to Roman before Punk came out to deliver the favor, his one-on-one interaction with Paul Heyman last week, sparing him the stomp and saying, now you owe me a favor. That sinister Seth Rollins, the version we got on Monday, that man, he was flawless, absolutely flawless. And now this feels like a 3-way dance. And Roman's never beaten him.
Yeah, he's never pinned him one-on-one. And so that is something that Roman Reigns just has yet to do. And I'm glad you bring up like Seth Rollins and his character development because he was the MVP of last year's WrestleMania season. I mean, everything he was doing with a really bad back. He had a torn meniscus at one point he was wrestling through. He put on his best performance last year at WrestleMania, not only competing in the main event night 1, but opening night 2 and dropping the World Heavyweight title to Drew McIntyre. But Drew McIntyre last year was the forgotten thought. And it was Seth and Cody and Rock and Roman. Drew McIntyre was just kind of there, and he was like adding bits and pieces when he could. And so when you were describing it, it felt like how Drew McIntyre had to do last year as playing second fiddle to the bigger story. And Drew McIntyre came out better, bigger, stronger, and more of a heel after that. And I feel like we've seen heel tendencies from Seth Rollins over the last few months, especially losing to CM Punk on the Raw Netflix debut. I think that was the tipping point. And so maybe we do get a full-fledged Seth Rollins heel run after WrestleMania.
I think I'm with you on that. And I know some people will call it a heel turn. No, I call it a heel acknowledgement. I don't think he ever turned face. That's my opinion on it. I don't think he ever turned face. I think he's been an annoying, like self-serving, self-anointing. I don't have a nice word to say.
He doesn't have a nice word. I can see that. And the reason fans liked him was because he was a workhorse and because he put in hard work, but also like his song. And Seth's like, okay, you can sing along to my song, it boosts my ego a little bit.
Yeah, he got a title made for him. That's not face.
Well, it all comes down to the main event of night one WrestleMania, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. How do you see this one ending? With one, who wins? And two, acknowledging the video I made last week, who does Paul Heyman side with?
This is the hardest match, not just of the night to call. This is the hardest match of the weekend to call. And the reason is there's no wrong answer. So my heart wants to always throw up that one. My heart says go with the tribal chief. My logic says go with the guy that's never lost to Roman. And yet there's a wild card here, CM Punk. You can't count him out. Like, this is the ultimate fence riding. I gotta pick one. I think Seth walks out the victor.
Wow.
10 years removed from the heights of the century.
Wow. Which I also covered on that video that dropped yesterday on Boom Broadcast in WrestleMania 21, WrestleMania 31. Yeah, that was what a moment. I was like 16 years old when that happened, and it felt like I was a kid. And this WrestleMania is making me feel like I'm a kid again. I gotta go Roman here, though. I gotta go Roman.
I hope that you're right. For the sake of all things holy, I hope that you're right. Because I hope that at the end of the night, I'm throwing my one up to this guy.
I mean, we have to, because like whoever wins this match will likely see themselves out of the feud and go towards the world title. And Roman Reigns, I mean, he still needs that rematch with Cody, and we can dive into a full CM Punk and Seth Rollins feud, because that's where it was to begin with. And so I really do see Roman Reigns standing tall, night one main event of WrestleMania, as the head of the table, the tribal chief, and the winner of one of the craziest triple threats we'll ever see main event a WrestleMania.
Yep, the tribal chief, the head of the table, and there's one moniker you left out that's probably going to set a lot of your viewers off. The GOAT.
Oh, he is. He is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. By the way, that is a sick shirt. Let's see that real quick. Wow.
WrestleMania. We'll cover that guy up, but
and there you have it, guys. But dude, I appreciate you so much hopping on to cover WrestleMania. We have your tag scrolling across the bottom right now for Instagram and Twitch. But for anyone who's not familiar with your work, what can they expect when they go to these channels?
Yeah, so again, I'm Rome, King Rome. My community, we call it the Kingdom, and what you can expect from us: peace, love, good vibes. We are wholesome, and then some. And I do a variety of content. I make music, hip hop music. I work out in the gym, and I share my workouts with y'all. And then we game together as a community. Right now, we're playing Marvel Rivals, but it's that season. We might have to hop on the WWE 2K again. I'm getting the itch. So I would love to have y'all become a part of what we're doing. I love chatting wrestling. That might be something I'm working on in the future. And more so than anything, I just appreciate being a part of this. I appreciate you, not just for having me as a guest, but just lending yet another voice to this space, for amplifying the voices of the fans out here, man. It's a beautiful sport that we watch. It's a beautiful art that we enjoy, we immerse ourselves in, and we connect because of. And shout out to you for going the extra mile, because I think people think you just turn on a camera and talk, but there's a lot of work that goes into this. And just know that not only do I see you, but I acknowledge you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Rome. And I appreciate you hopping on for the first time. Definitely won't be your last time, because this was a blast. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, I gotta tune into your Twitch, see your next gym workout. I gotta go get one.
Hell yeah! I saw you working. You getting swole out here.
Hey. But hey, guys, go follow him on Instagram and Twitch. He's got some big stuff coming down the pipeline. And again, tomorrow we'll do night 2 WrestleMania predictions. And this is a blast. And if you're on Boom Broadcasting, we don't do just wrestling content, even though we have a lot of WrestleMania week content for you. But we also have 3 from Deep. It's an NBA podcast, and some play-in games happened last night that you guys want to go tune in. Jason's got the scoop later this afternoon, but he's like, hey, take my afternoon slot. Let's get this wrestling content out for these wrestling fans, and I'll drop my basketball content before tonight's play-in games, and let's go Heat. But guys, for myself, Michael Davis, for my guy, King Rome, that you can follow on Instagram and Twitch, this has been the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel for more of our episodes and more content, including everything during WrestleMania week. But most of all, thank you for spending your Wednesday with us on Drop the Mic. We'll have a Thursday episode, Drop the Mic, tomorrow. And whenever you do, don't drop your mic. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow for a special Night 2 prediction episode.